All right, so we are back in the studio again. Studio, I guess I'll use that term loosely. It's too goddamn hot out right now to sit in that garage and shoot one of these, so I decided to pop back in the old man cave, as it were. I hate that term, but whatever. Yeah, and shoot one of these from the comfortable, air-conditioned spot in my own home that I used to use for pretty much all my videos. I like being able to stand up, though. For some reason, I feel more comfortable like that, but anyway. So, today's video, I thought I would tackle something that I've been meaning to tackle for a while. It's something it's a big part of my thought process. This is something that I think of nearly every day, and that is online discourse. We live in a world in which a good percentage of our human interaction comes in the online world. I'm not sure. I haven't bothered to research how much of the average person's interactions with other humans comes through the online world versus the real world, but nevertheless, most of us find ourselves here in the world of the internet engaging with strangers on a pretty regular basis. And I know that most of you are very familiar with online debate, if you want to call it that. Pissing matches is probably the more apt term. So yeah, it's a problem, I feel. If you go to Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, anywhere you go, when you're interacting with strangers, or even not strangers, sometimes it's even people you know to a certain degree in your own personal life. But once you get online, it's just so commonplace. It's so easy to find yourself in these flame wars, throwing insults at someone, wishing violence on someone, writing them off as like an avatar. It's just really easy to do when you're not sitting face to face with a person. It's something that you can find in traffic, for instance, even before the internet was ever created. How many times have you sat in traffic and wished death upon the person in front of you that would take 30 seconds too long to fucking turn left at a fucking green, or that cut you off on the expressway? You know, how many times have you wished somebody and their entire family would just drive into a ditch and die in a fiery explosion? I know I'm not the only one. But when you stop and think about it, do you want death upon human beings and their families just because, they took a little too long to turn a certain direction, or they mildly inconvenienced you on the road? I don't think that most of us would say yes to that question. I think most of us, it's a heat of the moment thing. And again, a lot of times it's easy to view it as this Ford Escort or this fucking Dodge truck that's in my way, this fucking piece of shit asshole in a van. You're not thinking about such and such, the actual father or daughter or person with stories to tell and families to care for. You're not thinking about it that way. You're dehumanizing them, and it's easy to do in the world of Facebook or Twitter or whatever. Everybody's got their little avatar picture, and you don't really know these people. And again, even if you do, even if you're loosely associated with them, and sometimes even if you're tightly associated with them, people put their little political opinions out there, and it's very easy to sit and think, you fucking Nazi, or you fucking libtard, over an opinion. And another thing is, it's often difficult to express via text your true emotion or the true intent behind a specific statement. So things can get lost in translation there. So how do we navigate our way through this? How do we go from, how do we avoid these pissing matches? How do we avoid getting into it and actually manage to have a productive conversation in the world of social media or online discourse? I think empathy is the key word. I think that's the biggest thing that I think we can learn. To try to slow our emotion a little bit. To try to be able to pump the brakes when we feel ourselves getting angry over a fucking comment or a meme or a tweet. And maybe not try to find agreement, but at least try to find common ground or clarity or perspective. I think that's the key thing. Because I don't think, look, too many of us, we all come from different backgrounds, we're cut from different cloths. to expect us to agree on issues is, look, it's not going to happen. You know, your cousin Bob from fucking, you know, the boondocks of Alabama, who grew up raised by hillbillies, is not ever likely to agree with you on transgender issues, right? Your friend, your girlfriend's sister from Brooklyn, New York, or L.A. is not likely to ever agree with your opinions on being able to, you know, hunt, you know, wolves with rifles from helicopters. You're never going to find agreement, but what you can try to do is find clarity or perspective. Maybe you don't agree with this, but here's why I feel this way. Maybe. And again, that's probably a fool's game too, but I think it's an effort that has to be made, right? You know, I don't think there's enough of that going on. I don't see it enough anyway. One small anecdote I'll make, you know, this is like the pinnacle of what I'm talking about in terms of what not to do. I recently, you know, anybody who spends any amount of time on YouTube, inevitably you'll find yourself down the rabbit hole of, maybe you'll like this video, maybe you like that video, and maybe it has something to do with the video you just watched, but maybe it doesn't. Anyway, I find my way to a video where there's a tiger and a lion in a cage fighting, and the tiger kicks the lion's ass. So you have two guys immediately go at it with each other. More viciously than the lion and the tiger were attacking each other, these two guys went at it. And the one guy first comments that, you know, that was an emaciated lion. They were obviously starving him because they're fucking tiger fanboys. And a lion would totally kick a tiger's ass. And then the other guy fucking chimes in, you're a fucking faggot, you're a fucking retard, blah, 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 blah. And now these guys are threatening each other's lives, insulting each other's mothers over who would win in a hypothetical big cat fight. It was the dumbest shit that I've ever seen, but I see shit like this on a regular basis, and I'm sure many of you do too. This is the thing that we need to avoid. And, you know, if we're going there in the world of like big cat fights, it's no wonder that we find ourselves hating each other and fighting each other in the streets over fucking Nazis and Antifa and Trump versus Hillary and that whole world. You know, because politics, at least, you know, in the world of politics, these are issues that matter. Immigration, border control, gun control, pollution, war, the state of the economy. These are all big issues that actually matter. Religious freedom, sexual freedom. These are issues that matter to civilization. Tigers and lions fighting, Sprite versus 7-Up. As I've said in a video I did a week back, you know, Coke versus Pepsi, Microsoft versus Sony, you know, these issues don't matter, and we still have we're at each other's throats over it. So what the fuck do we do? How do we find, if we can't find common ground on lions versus tigers, how the fuck are we going to find common ground on, you know, left versus right? And again, I think the key is trying to empathize. As difficult as it may be, empathy is the key. It really is. I mean, and it can be a difficult skill to learn. Some of us just I don't think, inherently have it in us. I think some of us are probably too dumb, but I think that's a small percentage of the population. And I don't mean to be insulting to those people, but there are dumb people out there that are incapable of fucking empathy. There are sociopaths out there that are incapable of empathy, whether they're dumb or not. So not everybody's going to be able to do it, but I think most of us fucking can. Most of us are normal, rational, non-psychopathic, non-sociopathic, relatively intelligent people. We can do better than what we're doing now. One little anecdote, one little microcosm that I would like to offer is something that just happened in the past week to me. And it was in regard to the Maynard video that I put out earlier just last week when the sexual assault allegations came out against him. So I put that video out, and I thought that I was taking about a neutral stance as was possible. Right? If I'm known for anything, even though I consider myself centrist, I'm a fence sitter. I've been criticized on that before. I always try to take the middle ground. Maybe sometimes to a fault. But at any rate, nevertheless, here I am. I don't think we should, just push these allegations to the side and dismiss them out of hand, but I don't think we can judge the guy either based on no tangible evidence. So here I am, putting out a video that basically is telling everybody that they're an idiot if they don't come down in the middle. If you dismiss these accusations out of hand because you like the band, you're an idiot. If you want to throw judgment at the guy because of these allegations, you're an idiot. The only logical stance is to come down in the middle. I still do agree with that position, but I don't think that I articulated it all that well. And part of the reason that I'm kind of thinking on that now is because of one commenter, one viewer that had made his presence known within the comment section of that video. Initially, it was a barrage of comments. He started, commenting replying to other comments that were agreeing with me. And the guy was being pretty insulting. He came at me pretty hard. I thought he was being a dick. He was calling me an asshole and this. And I thought really, and I still to a degree maybe think that he was focusing a little too much on one thing that I said rather than the overarching point of the video. He was basically of the mindset that I was more or less passing judgment on this guy because of his past sexual proclivities. Because I had said that it could be the argument could be made that his sexual past, his position as a wealthy rock star, could be seen as evidence that he would do such a thing, or it could lend itself to this story being believable, which to a certain degree I still feel that way. Like it's not a super stretch of the imagination to imagine a super rich, wealthy rock star who is known for very liberal sexual engagement with fans, throwing himself on a 17-year-old and having his way with her while she doesn't really protest, right? It's not super far-fetched. I still believe that. However, I did not intend for that to be used as evidence against the guy, right? It's just, you have to consider that a little bit. We have to consider everything, right? So he took issue with that and he let me know it. And the long and short of it is this. It was the first YouTube hate that I had ever received on this channel. At least recently. I've had shitty comments come my way about, dude, that Game of Thrones cover you did sucks. It's fucking trying too hard. It sounds like new metal, whatever. And it comes and it goes. But this was the first barrage, bah, 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 somebody really expressing themselves. And so initially when I saw that, I had to think, do I want to, how do I want to react to this? Do I want to respond? Do I want to go down the rabbit hole of YouTube pissing matches with every fucking potential hateful comment that comes my way? Do I want to ignore it and only focus on the positives? How do I want to do this? Do I want to respond at all? And if I do, how am I going to respond? So I think most of us, myself included, you're not going to respond to that just by being a super nice guy and really apologetic. You're going to stand your ground a little bit. It's hey man, this guy's calling me an asshole, fucking making all these inflammatory remarks. I'm going to stand my ground. I'm going to call him out. So I did. But I never wanted it to elevate to the degree where it goes from just a minor pissing match to an all-out flame war, right? So I tried to be careful about how I worded it, and then he responded in kind. He was a bit more expressive in his response. Well, yeah, dude, this might have been one line out of an overarching theme, but it bleeds through into your theme, and here's why I fucking disagree with you. And he expressed himself a little more and offered a little more insight to his way of thinking. And before you know it, we were both able to pump the brakes, gain understanding and clarity without ever really coming to 100% agreement. But things became civil, they became cordial, and now, as far as I know, the guy's a subscriber, and our little interactions since then have been great. That's the way forward. And I don't mean that to say I'm patting myself on the back and I found the way forward, because believe me, I haven't. This is just one instance where I did find a way forward, and it wasn't just to my credit, it was to his credit as well. And this was two people that were irritated with each other, but we both were able to scale it back and try to put ourselves in the other guy's shoes. And it fucking worked, right? And so I think that's the key. Empathy. Being able to put yourself in the other person's shoes. Stop for a second. And ultimately, when it comes down to it, look, dude, we're all humans. We're all flawed. It's okay. And that's where I've made the point of, I don't think I've made a video about it before, but I probably will soon. Or no, I did. The piece of shit video that I made is kind of part of what I'm about to say here, which is and I've said this in the past to some of my friends, but if you don't have the ability to be self-deprecating, or if you don't hate yourself at least a little bit, if you cannot acknowledge that you're kind of a piece of shit, I don't trust you. Because I think that's what's required to be able to gain clarity with people you disagree with, is to be able to look at yourself and say, hey, you know what? Maybe I'm not so perfect. Maybe I am wrong. Maybe I didn't articulate this the best way possible. So let me consider what this guy's saying, think about it, and then we'll come back. we need more of that. And again, I do see it happen. There's plenty of friends that I have that I see, and I feel very, it's like it's a breath of fresh air when I do see that happen. And to this guy's credit, this particular commenter, to his credit, he was able to do that, like I said. So, but yeah, that's the nuts and bolts of it. That's just one little anecdote that I thought I would offer as like I said, a microcosm, an example of how we can move forward in the world, in terms of online discourse, or in terms of discourse in general. But that's basically it. That's all I wanted to say for today. So, anybody wants to get into a pissing match over it, feel free, and I'll see if I can't pump the brakes on that too. So, but until then, thanks for watching. Aside, I never want to be that guy who says, please subscribe, or beg for likes, or any of that shit, and I'm never gonna. But it is an option. I'm gonna throw that out here. If you're finding anything of value here, I just trust that you're gonna know that you will subscribe. But anyway, that said, look forward to seeing you in the next video.